Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Darkest Fears podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite films from the last decade, which is Hereditary by Ari Aster. Uh, this film is probably one of the bleakest films that I've ever seen. Um, the tone of this film is set mainly in the beginning by the score, and I'll play the opening scene for you here real quick, and I'll get you a feeling of what the score is doing for you, as opposed to what the lighting in this opening scene is doing. Because when you look at this scene, what's happening is, it's actually really bright. It's morning. Actually, it looks like maybe even it could be even afternoon, and it's very bright. But the tone of the score is setting you up for what this film is bringing forth. So I'm going to play this scene real quick. And I absolutely love this zoom shot into this dollhouse. See, like, there's such a stark contrast to what the music is alluding to, as far as what this movie is going to convey to you. Now, the main theme of this movie is basically a family and how they deal with grief. Now, there is a sinister underlying story that goes beneath that, but I think the main thing that Ari always wants to convey in a film is he wants to depict feelings of the human condition. And so far, with the three films that he has put out, just recently, Beau is Afraid just came out, and I actually just saw that today. He has been able to convey, uh, you know, human feelings into art, and just depicting it as a way that you can see it on film. And in this film, what you can see, what happens to this family, is so suffocating throughout. And I think it is one of the greatest things that I have ever seen, as far as trying to bring out that raw emotion of grief. Not many people can bring forth that kind of feeling and actually show it to you. But Ari has a way of showing these things to you and depicting these human emotions is just astounding. Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about in this film is the heavy sense of dread that kind of covers it. Um, One thing that Ari is so good at is drenching a film in, this impending doom kind of feeling. He loves to make you feel like that something terrible is coming right around the corner. And with this film, what seems to happen is over time, it seems to get darker and darker, and the dread just gets heavier and heavier. Now, the main character in this movie, who is played by Toni Collette, her name is Annie. The beginning of the film starts out where her mother recently just passes away. Um, Throughout the film, you kind of learn that her mother was super manipulative towards her, and had a odd interest in her children. But there's more to come about that as the story kind of unfolds over time. Um, we're gonna play a quick scene where she's in a support group for grief, and she's kind of discussing about what her mother kind of put her through and how she's kind of trying to deal with it.
And then she lived in our house at the end before hospice. We weren't even talking before that. I mean, we were, and then we weren't, and then we were. She's completely manipulative until my husband finally enforced a no contact rule, which lasted until I got pregnant with my daughter. I didn't let her anywhere near me when I had my son, which is why I gave her my daughter, who she immediately stabbed her hooks into. And I felt guilty again. I felt guilty again. When she got sick, not that she was really even my mom at the end, and not that she would ever feel guilty about anything. And I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
So as you can see in that scene, you can tell that even though she knew that her mother was super manipulative towards her, and made her feel terrible over the years about some decisions that she had made as regards to her children, you can tell that she still feels really guilty. um, and I think that's an emotion that Ari really likes to hang on, is guilt. um, you can even see that in the film that came out after this one, which is Midsummer. There's a lot of depictions of guilt in that film as well, which we won't get too much into as far as Midsummer goes, but um, you can see in Annie's character, she's dealing with an array of feelings as is in regards to her mother in this scene. She's going back and forth and going through the motions about how she feels about her death and how she should feel, or why she feels this, or what is she supposed to feel. um you know and I think it's a really interesting scene because she's talking to these people that she's never met before in her life, and she's kind of going through these emotions and just kind of just unloading. The scene, if you see the movie, because we're just getting a little bit of this, I'm not really going to go into it. She really just kind of just unloads. And I really like this scene a lot. Now, right here, this is one of the things that you see that her mother leaves behind for her that kind of tells you about the underlying story. Now, you'll find out more about this as the film unfolds, and it's very, very, very scary stuff. Um, so we'll just watch a little bit more of this. This is one thing that I love about Ari's vision. His his willingness to not turn away from something terrifying, and the lighting in that scene is absolutely terrifying. You get a lot of people that talk about this film and actually how they hated it, and I don't understand it myself, because I think the shots in this film are just absolutely brilliant. Now, one of the cool things about this film is that there are so many hidden messages that are purposely placed throughout this movie that help carry along this sinister, hidden, underlying story. And they're all placed by the deceased mother of Annie, or the grandmother of Peter and Charlie. And they're there to um, kind of help push along this supposed ritual. And you hear throughout this movie that, the grandmother always wished, the girls were boys. And it's a really strange thing that always gets brought up throughout this movie. She always wanted the girls to be boys. Annie even states, that when she was growing up, she always acted like a tomboy. Charlie, she even remembers her grandmother telling her that she wanted her to be a boy. And this is purposeful, because the grandmother has ill intentions that she never told the family.
Who's this? It's Grandma? You know you were her favorite, right? Even when you were a little baby, she wouldn't let me feed you because she needed to feed you. She was going crazy.
She wanted me to be a boy.
You know, I was a tomboy when I was growing up. I hated dresses and dolls and pink.
Who's gonna take care of me?
Excuse me, you don't think I'm gonna take care of you?
But when you die,
Well, then, Dad will take care of you. Or Peter. You never cried as a baby. You know that? Even when you were born. Did you feel like you wanted to cry today? You think that might feel like a relief?
So, like right there, um, this is a sign that was left behind, and a lot of these things are just kind of hidden messages. Some of them, a lot of them don't make sense, but they're kind of just like cryptic messages that have to do with a certain ritual. Um, and you'll find out what the ritual is by the end of the film, which we really won't touch much on. I'll talk more about the more intense scenes, but I don't want to give away a whole lot. I just want to kind of give a basic overview of this film. And, this video is mainly for people who have already seen it. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. There's going to be quite a few spoilers in this. Do apologize for that. I'll put that in the description of the video for sure. Make sure that that there are going to be a whole lot of spoilers in this, because this is mainly I want to go into an in-depth conversation about this film, about the hidden meanings and the cryptic messages about what this film presents. So as the film progresses over time, the family becomes more and more disjointed. Um, Especially, the husband and the son Peter become so disjointed with Annie. Peter, he still wants to just be a teen. He wants to go out and do what teenagers do. He decides one night he's going to go to this party and not tell Annie exactly what it's going to be. But then Annie, to kind of in a way to force him to kind of be together with his sister, insists that he brings Charlie with him. Because she doesn't know exactly where he's going or what exactly he's doing. So, in this scene that's coming up, he takes her to the party. He's doing drugs and, just being a teenager, drinking, and kind of just rebelling a bit, while not supervising Charlie like he should be. And what seems to happen is Charlie has this awful, reaction to something she consumes at the party, and ultimately, like she's going through anaphylactic shock. Her throat's closing up, and she's just having this awful allergic reaction. So now he has to try to race her to a hospital, and this is kind of where the things in this movie, where the tables kind of turn for the worst. Um, so we'll get into this here.
It's okay, Charlie. We're almost to the hospital, okay?
you can kind of tell at this very moment, um, this is where all of Peter's troubles begin. If you've seen the film, you know that the ritual that, with all the hidden messages behind this film, the ritual needs a boy to be vulnerable, to be able to be taken over. And this is where that begins for Peter. And you can see the look in his eyes that, he's never, ever going to be the same after this. This scene, when I first saw this movie, really just kind of hit me right in the gut. And it was a hard left turn, especially with how uh, slowly paced the beginning of this film was. When this scene hit, I knew things were going to ramp up after this, and that's the interesting thing about this movie, is that it just builds and builds and builds all this tension until the very last act, which is, I would say the last 20 minutes or so. It's just it's seething chaos.
I just want to die. No. Oh, God. Oh, oh, God. And there's no one. I just need to die. Oh. Charlie.
So, like, this is one of the hardest scenes in the film, I think, anyway. And this is one of Toni Collette's shining moments as an actress, I think, anyway, because she is pouring her soul into this performance. And I think uh, if this doesn't get to you, then I don't know what will. This scene uh, is where the rails kind of go off for Annie in this film. This is where all of her terror begins.
You okay, Mom?
What?
Is there something on your mind?
Is there something on your mind?
It just seems like there might be something you want to say.
Peter.
Like what? I mean, why would I want to say something so I could watch you sneer at me?
Sneer at you? I don't ever sneer at you.
Oh, sweetie, you don't have to. You get your point across.
Okay, so fine, then say what you want to say then.
Peter.
I don't want to say anything. I've tried saying
Okay, so
things.
try again. Release yourself.
Oh, release you mean?
Yeah, fine, release me. Just say it. Just fucking say it.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother! Do you understand? All I do is worry and slave and defend you, and all I get back is that fucking face on your face! So full of disdain and resentment and always so annoyed. Well, now your sister is dead. And I know you miss her. And I know it was an accident. And I know you're in pain. And I wish I could take that away for you. I wish I could shield you from the knowledge that you did what you did. But your sister is dead. She's gone forever. And what a waste. If it could have maybe brought us together or something. If you could have just said, I'm sorry, or faced up to what happened. Maybe then we could do something with this. But you can't take responsibility for anything. So now I can't accept. And I can't forgive. Because nobody admits anything they've done.
So this scene is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And it's not because it's scary. It's not because it's, full of dread. It's not because it's evil. It's not your typical horror scene. The thing I love about this scene is the honest, raw emotion from Tony. And when you're grieving, the loss of a parent, that's one thing. But when you're grieving the loss of a child on top of that, that's a whole another thing to deal with. And Annie is really breaking down at this point. There's other things that are going on in this film, that are also, kind of catering to this behavior as well. But, we're not gonna get into that this video, unfortunately, because I can only do so much in so little time. But this may actually even be a two-part video because there's so much to explain in this movie. But Tony Collette's breakdown in this scene, it's just gut wrenching. You can feel the anger. You can feel her just seething towards her son. And in that moment, you can tell with that character, there's nothing else that she can do. There's no other feeling that she can have because of what's going on. So I actually do think that we're going to have to make this a two-part video. So I will definitely work on the second part of this because we really only scratched the surface of what this film is. Um, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed what I've talked about in the film, what we've discussed, and the scenes that we've seen. Um, because this film is definitely worth at least, if anything, one watch in your life. And I think Ari Aster is definitely one of the best up and coming directors of our time. Like I said, he just came out with Beau is Afraid today. Just this month, and I just went and saw that today, and it was something else. And I think I'll go and do something for that film as well in the future. But with it being so new, I don't want to give out so much. So I do thank you so much for you guys tuning in today, and thank you for watching Darkest Fears podcast.